live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the round table. I have a good friend with me today, Macy, and I'm going to let her. She is like me, jack of all trades, master of many. So I'm going to let her introduce herself to you under whatever tab she wants to use. She's a newly published author, which will give her an opportunity to tell you about her book and where to get it. And she also, let me see if I have them here. She also founded these great things called Kind Spire cards, and they're very cool. So that's what we're going to talk about, what inspired her to found Kind Spire. And then we're going to talk about how kindness is actually a strategy of strength and not some point of weakness, which I think lots of times in business or in life and dealing in interpersonal relationships, people think that being kind is some kind of display of weakness or being, not a strong person or not a go-getter because you're nice to people. And Macy and I have found in our work with people that is just absolutely untrue. And so we're going to take a whack at that, given that it's Thanksgiving week and we're off next Friday. So we're approaching into Thanksgiving and we want to put you in the spirit of what to be grateful for and being kind to people, especially relatives on Thanksgiving, because sometimes you really require to dig deep. So Macy, tell us, how would you like to be known?
Well, thank you. So excited to be here with you today, and thanks for inviting me. So I have two different businesses. One is called Goldie Social Media, and we help all kinds of companies throughout the US achieve their organizational goals through social media marketing strategy, management, and execution of the strategy. So we've worked with over 30 different industries to really build that like, know, and trust factor with their prospects and also speed up their overall organizational goals. So whether that's sales goals, revenue goals, hiring goals, acquisition, or they're wanting to be in multiple states or countries, we help them and partner really closely and work with them to achieve whatever goals they have through our content creation and external messaging all on social. And my other business is called Kind Spire. So it's kindness and inspiration together. And it's a bit of the opposite of social media. It is to encouragement, interaction face to face. And
Nice.
I'm really hoping that people look up again. And when you're in an elevator, instead of just grabbing your phone because it feels kind of awkward when you're in a small space or
Right.
in a line at Starbucks, for example, instead of just looking at your phone, look up, look around and see who can you spread joy and kindness to
I
through
love that.
Inspire cards. Thank you.
So tell me what inspired you to decide that the world needs more of that, which it definitely does. And Macy and I are we're on a track together to spread joy. That's kind of both of us have the same MO.
Yeah.
Um, so what made you decide that was a thing that you wanted to do or that was needed?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I had two different instances this year of women crying in the airport. And I didn't know why they were crying, but it made me sad and I wanted to share something with them or give them some sort of hope and
Yeah,
knew because they were strangers that I should not give them a hug or, say,
right.
"Oh, it's going to be okay," or interrupt them when they were on the phone crying. So I thought, man, I really wish I had some sort of card to give them. And so that's where the idea started. I just wanted to give like a subtle, like, "Hey, it will be okay," and write something specific on the back. So after those two interactions, I was like, okay, let me look into this a little bit more and see what products are out there. So I started looking on Amazon to see what kind of cards were out there on the market that I could use for my kindness, just my own personal mission. There
Yeah.
were none that had the quality and sayings and like look and feel with the colors and the font that I wanted. And so I was thinking, well, why don't I just make the cards? And so
Nice.
I thought about it a little bit more and was reading customer reviews from some of my competitors, if you will, and how I can improve these cards. And so that's ultimately how I came up with the idea. And in the cards, there's 30 different sayings, and there's one that says it will be okay. And that one was inspired from the two people that I saw crying.
Praying in the airport.
Yes, it's like that's all you can say. You're not there to help solve their problem necessarily, but
Right.
just give them some hope of things will get better and it will be okay.
We should arm everyone with these cards for the Thanksgiving travel season because that's like, These are what they look like. You got, and usually we don't do like, we're not a show that's like, oh, here's this person and that's what they're selling. But Macy is my friend, and these are just cool.
Thank you.
So I'm making an exception to my rule. These are just really like, I ordered a bunch. Whoops, that one just fell. Um, you have the strength to overcome any challenge. Your smile is contagious. Like these, honestly, guys, these are just cool.
Mhm.
So if you are traveling for Thanksgiving, you still have time to order some on Amazon, and get them before you have to hit the airports. We'd arm you with these for airports and train stations and bus stations and
Yes.
wherever you're going for the holidays. We want to arm you and equip you with the ability to be kind and spread joy. Listen, the world is a very interesting place right now. I'm like the princess of positivity, so we're not going to talk about any of the weird things that are going on. What we are going to say is that the world could use your ability to spread joy and kindness for sure. And I love that Macy couldn't find a card out there that did what she wanted, so she, like me, just invented her own, which is, I love that.
Thank
So a little aside about the show, and then Macy and I are going to talk about how kindness actually can be a business strategy and a life strategy as well.
you.
We are going to have a different co-host. We're going to have 4 co-hosts, and we're going to round robin them with me once a month. So Macy is going to be one. Liz, who you met last week, is going to be one. Cedric, who you met 2 weeks ago, is going to be one. And then the Karen Josh team is going to be the 4th. So every week I will have a different person with me, and then we'll have a different guest. And we'll be inviting guests from their experiences as well as my own. And we're willing to take requests for guests and look into why you think someone might be a good guest. And what we're aiming to do with the roundtable, by the way, we have a brand new site up. So I'd love for you to check it out. It is still, we'll call it in draft. It's up. We're still tweaking. We've got to add all the co-hosts, but it is roundtableshows.plural.com. And on there, you'll be able to click right to episodes, click right to the audio. It's a really, we're working on it. It's under construction. It's very good. Soon there'll be a blog, and there will be a newsletter that goes out once a month with our guest schedule and all of that. What we're aiming to do is drive change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset with this show, The Roundtable. And we want to do that by applying happiness, sharing wisdom, and igniting transformation. So as I've gotten into doing the show, more things have become clear to me about what I want to do, and I'm happy to welcome some dear friends of mine onto this venture with me, and we're going to knock it out of the park. So what we ask of you is that if you are watching or listening, please share the show. I am not paying anyone for this. No one is paying me. We are not making any money off of this. We are putting this good content out there because we want to, and because we think it's needed right now in the world. We also will not be putting ads on our podcast or in our video. The best thing that we might do in the future is we all might write a book together, and we also will probably do consulting together, and that's how we'll get some return on our investment if that's God's will. But for the moment, this is my part of my give back,
Mhm.
and everyone else's as well. So kindness is actually a strategy. And when I say that, I mean, they say you get more flies with honey than you do, with not with honey. And Dale Carnegie encourages people to lead with what can you do for someone else.
Mhm.
And so in business, Macy, how have you seen? I mean, you are such a light, and you're always in a good mood. And so when you have gone into a business situation that is lacking kindness or generosity or care for, the customer or the client, like, tell me about, what do you see in those situations, and how do you inject kindness,
Mhm.
and joy into a situation that might be toxic, when you first enter into it?
Mhm. So, one tip that I have is always remain authentically true to you. So, if I enter into a conversation and I can just tell that it's negative or they're not excited for me to come consult for them or do some training for the day, I make sure that I maintain my high positive energy because when you have that kindness and positivity, people can't help but start to get on that level
Yeah.
because it's so radiant. And who doesn't want to be joyful? People
Right.
naturally want to be joyful. They maybe had somebody say something to them or they're really stressed about something, but ultimately everyone wants to be happy. So if
Right.
you can continue being that light and operating at a higher vibration, even though the rest of the people maybe are not, they're going to start to come to your level, and then more people will be positive. In certain circumstances, though, if somebody comments something rude to somebody or something that's not appropriate or that shouldn't have been said, there's always respectful ways to insert that. And so that's what I try to do too, is to maintain emotional intelligence, but also make sure that I'm creating boundaries for myself and other people, but remaining authentic and kind at the same time, which is a very powerful tool. If you can remain calm and kind, but still
Right.
insert yourself with boundaries, it's very powerful. It's a great business tactic.
And we talk about on the coffee chat show, I've talked about that for years, right? Like maintaining your peace.
Yeah.
And I think, what I'm aiming to do here is, I'm both spiritual and business. So I'm both, but I don't want to be out there teaching the spiritual stuff because it's just not what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
So by inviting some other people to co-host with us, where we're going to bring that, because the real future of work and life and career is really some of these spiritual success principles married with very, maybe older school kind of leadership, corporate management. The idea that things will remain, as separated as they once were, like when I was younger, like that's no longer an option because the younger generations are flooding up behind us. They are very much more into how their feelings and their emotions and their self-care and all of these things that involve kindness and peace and being stable and being responsive instead of reactive. Like these are all real things that are in the workspace now as kind of chatter, and some old school people are like, oh, that seems interesting, but that's really not for me. I was talking to a friend this morning. We were talking about, I'm about to put an article on LinkedIn about this coffee badging thing that's out there, which is like people are supposed to be at work but they are remote, but then they come into work and they get a cup of coffee and they have a little, like, they let everybody see them and then they go back home. And it's a thing, it's actually a thing, which is sad, but it's called coffee badging. And so I was talking to someone about that this morning, and she was like, well, what's wrong with people, they just need to go to work because they're told they need to be there. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, no, you're actually, like, coffee badging is employee disengagement, really. And what you're saying is like old school management, like just telling people what to do and too bad for them and they need to suck it up.
Yeah.
So that's not really, like, neither one of those things is where we have to be now.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, by adjusting your attitude as a person that's either leading a training or coming in as a consultant or in a leadership or management role, by controlling your own equilibrium, coming from that place of peace, being a force for joy and for good. These are all the principles of positive psychology, which we're going to keep talking about, because guess what, folks? There's actual evidence now. When I was growing up on these spiritual principles, there was no evidence of these things, and everyone thought like it was just woo woo and it was all. And now we have evidence. So
Yes.
we're like, we're going to use it. We have evidence from Harvard studies and all kinds of collaborations and articles, and these are real tools. When you start to, like Macy's saying, when you start to inject a positivity into the situation, other people gravitate towards that.
Mhm.
When you start to look at things with a positive demeanor, you find more positive things to look
Yeah.
at. Macy, tell me something about like how you've transformed a situation, like with people or with yourself, where it was kind of looking like something that you didn't want to have happen, and then you were able to kind of expand like the possibility, which changed the outcome. Anything like that?
Sure. I mean, I think I'm thinking of an example that happened to me this week. And just to be vulnerable, I was kind of in a funk earlier this week because I've been working by myself all week at the
Yeah.
office at home. And I'm an extrovert, so I need people and I love to see people and engage with them. And I've just had a lot of projects going on, so I've been at home. And in the evening, I was telling my husband, Luke, that I'm just feeling like I'm out of alignment right now. And
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know why. And I kept complaining, to be quite honest. And thankfully, my husband was like, hey, like, I want you to reflect on all of the good things that have happened leading up to you being able to work from home, work for
Yeah.
yourself, build what you have, publish a book. And so that was what I needed to be reminded of is the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
So I was able to change and fix my own mentality of thinking of,
Right.
wow, I'm actually really grateful that I get to work from home and put my own hours and serve my clients the way that I can. So from a personal perspective, I would say gratitude. From a business perspective, depending on if I'm coming in as a consultant or if they're a client of mine, sometimes I say, hey, let's take a step back and let's be reminded of the overall goal. Because sometimes we get so into details that some
Yeah.
people say, I don't agree with you, or this isn't right, because we all have our own ideas of what the outcome should be. But if we can all agree on one big outcome, we can say, hey, let's take a step back and look at what that North Star is and regroup.
Right.
So that's another way I kind of am able to control the situation if it's starting to spiral into maybe being more bickering or people are wanting to be more argumentative about the point, reminding them, what is the purpose of our conversation? What's the purpose of our meeting today?
Right. I love that. So that's a big thing for people because we'll just talk about it in the work arena. When you have purpose driven management, that's a lot different than project driven management or production driven management, right? Because if we have a team and all we're doing is riding them to produce a particular result, and they have a day like Macy or myself, I have days like that as well, where I just am like so over it and I'm just in a funk.
Yeah.
And if all I was coming from was productivity or project, or if Macy was, we would not be able to have that, transformation of the mind
Mm-hmm.
and transformation of the attitude, because we're able to do that because we're like, oh, what is our purpose? Why are we really doing this? Like Macy got to think about what's her purpose, and she, like me, like we want to just make people's lives better with all the different ways that we do that in all the different arenas of work that her and I both cover. Like that's the real purpose. My purpose is to teach people that possibility exists, and then drive change, right? And Macy has a similar, I'm sure, a similar MO. So when you're in a shitty space, when you're in a funk like that,
Mm-hmm.
like do what Macy did, like regroup, step back,
Yeah.
say to yourself, what am I going through the slog for? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And we really want to ask this question to everybody as you approach Thanksgiving, which is number one, a great time to start being grateful at a deep level, like deep
Yeah.
gratitude, not just like, oh, I'm grateful for the lights in my house and a pencil. And
Right.
no, deep gratitude, like, wow, I have built a life that is really great. I have a home, I have a husband, I have all those things. I guarantee you all have something to be grateful for, even if you are not where you want to be in your life right now. And if you're not where you want to be in your life right now, I suggest you continue to watch the round table, because we are just going to be filled with tips as we go into 2024 on how to transform yourself at work, in your career, and yourself personally, because that's what
Mhm.
we're all about, is transformation. So Thanksgiving season, great time to be grateful, great time to check yourself at the door on the gratitude level. Also, a great time as we set up for a new year. Like, what is your purpose?
Yeah.
Are you, what does make you happy? What are you doing to fulfill that? What's your legacy going to be?
Yeah.
God forbid, if you were to check out tomorrow or soon, like what would you have left behind you? A trail of grievances and complaints?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you going into a room or a meeting at your company bringing a trail of kindness and joy behind you, or are you going in there bringing a trail of grievances?
Oh, yeah.
um
Get them.
yeah, because you're not helping anybody, and least of all yourself,
Yeah.
right?
And I think
Yeah.
life is so much more fun when you wake up with a mission not to be so into yourself and making money and me, and what can I get, but to wake up with the mission of, okay, who can I make smile today? It's
Yeah.
a
Who
fun
can I
chore.
serve?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you know what, you guys, it doesn't take a lot. Like there are a lot of hurting folks out there like Macy, the people that Macy ran into in the airport. And I, as we go into this holiday season, as we approach this next week, this is like the highest travel week,
Mhm.
in the year, is the Thanksgiving, days leading up to Thanksgiving and such. A great time to do what Macy said, and just wake up every day with, like, who can you contribute to? Who can you bring joy to? Who can you elevate? How can you lift someone's spirits? It doesn't take a lot. A kind compliment when you're standing in line. Oh, your hair's, I love your hair. I love your shoes. I whatever, holding the door for someone, buying a coffee, paying a toll ahead, back behind you, like for the next 5 cars or whatever the case may be. Like if you really went into this holiday season with this mindset of, I want to see whose life I can improve,
Yeah.
I promise you, you would have probably the best holiday season that you've had yet. And
Yes.
I do know that this is a challenging time for people, and they tend to start bitching already about, oh my God, I have to see these people at my mother's house, and Fred's always drunk, and Mary's always this. And
Mhm.
talk to me, Mace, about like how do you get yourself, like when you have a negative connotation about a situation or a person, how do you reframe that for yourself?
Yeah. So I'm only in control of myself and my mind. So I have to nurture my mind with the music I listen to, the thoughts I'm telling myself or about other people. So if my story about somebody, maybe it's someone, let's say, for example, I didn't get along with or had some sort of riff with in business, and I know I'm going to have to see them, instead of creating a fake narrative of what they think of me or how our situation will be, I visualize the best outcome possible. I visualize myself in peace and harmony with them, extending joy and us both forgetting about it.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm only
love that.
in control of my mind. I can tell myself the best story in the world that's going to fuel me every day and keep me going in business and friendships with my clients and life, or I can tell myself a really bad story and I'll go the opposite way. So knowing that I'm only in control of my life and my mind, when I start to have something negative, I've been practicing this for a long time. I'm able to, most of the time, depending on how emotional I am that day or what I went through that day, is snap out of it, especially if it's
Right.
a narrative about somebody else, because that is something you can stop, be aware of, why am I thinking this bad situation of this person, or I'm making this story up in my head. What if they completely forgot that they never called me back and they're not even thinking about it? So there's no reason to just create a narrative in your head. Instead, think of the best outcome possible, that they're going to be, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I saw you. I totally forgot to call you back last month. I'm so glad I'm seeing you because I do want to talk to you about this. So
Right.
making it, a positive narrative, a positive story, because there's no point in torturing yourself with negative thoughts.
And most times, whatever we're making up in our head is not even the truth, truthfully, because in any situation, there's what you think happened and what the other person thinks happened. And then what actually happened is somewhere in the middle,
Right?
because our memories are only ever our interpretation. So
Hmm.
even if you have things that were not the best in your childhood or in your past, like, you have a memory of that. The truth is, that's your memory. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is the absolute truth of what happened, because we skew everything. As soon as something occurs for us, we put a film on it. And
Hmm.
then what happens with relatives and family members is, like, we have a filter on our head called I already know. So
Yeah.
it's like your mother opens her mouth and you already know what
Mm.
she's going to say. So guess what? You don't even hear what she says,
Yep.
because you're already remembering what she said to you for the last 20 years on the day before Thanksgiving, and
Mm.
she could say something completely different on this coming Wednesday, and you wouldn't even hear it, because you're so busy in the narrative from the past. And
Ooh.
that's true of most people in most really close relationships, also in work relationships, but as we are kind of approaching Thanksgiving, I want to give you guys sort of a framework to kind of work on your, I know the holidays are hard for a lot of people, and a lot of the situations that you have to put yourself in that you don't really want to be in.
Mhm.
There is an opportunity to reframe those situations and kind of rewire those experiences so that they can be joyful and they don't have to be like they've always been.
Mm.
And part of what keeps them like they've always been is you can't hear. Because I promise you, as soon as you pull up in the driveway to wherever you're going, to where you've gone for the last 10 years, you're already like, you're ready. You've got your fighting gloves out, and you already
Mhm.
know, like, I'm gonna walk in the door and my mother's gonna tell me I look fat in this dress, and my father's gonna say this, and my Uncle Joe's gonna be drunk at the table, and like a
Yeah,
whole thing, right? Leslie's
man.
saying that her daughter has an automatic reply. And my son and I, Antonio and I, actually, we got into it this week, not like we started to get into, and I said to him, like, listen, he said, let's take a step, because he's been well trained by me. So he's 22. So he's like, Mom, let's just take a step back in this conversation. So we did that. And I said, listen, I want you to understand something. You're saying that I can't hear you. So I'm willing to like look at what you're saying. But I also want to encourage you to look at the fact that every time I say something, like even oftentimes I go to open my mouth and you say, I already know what you're going to say, Mom.
Mhm.
I said, so what we're all doing in that scenario is we're not giving anyone a chance to transform.
Yeah.
Because what if Uncle Joe's been going to AA for 12 months and you didn't know? And
Mhm.
what if your mother has decided that you look phenomenal and she wants to give you a compliment? Like, you already are walking into the house with an attitude.
Yep.
And here's the truth about attitude is you are going to pull to you what you're putting out. So
Mhm.
if you already have a thing about all these people and you walk in there, that is, I promise you, exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You will literally bring to you the thing that you don't want because you're so busy worrying about it and how it's going to be and how it's going to be, you're going to be stressed and like.
Yeah.
So
That's so
what's
good.
what's a tip that we can give you? I'll give you one, and then Macy will give you one, and then she's going to tell you about her book real quick. So if you ask me what could be a tip, Noelle, so that I can reframe my holiday season, I would say two things. One, see how you can lead with some kind of kindness when you're going into a situation. And two, the pause is a wonderful thing.
Mhm.
Before you open your mouth, shush it. And
Mhm.
just like, even if you have to put your hand over your mouth, think about like whatever they said, check yourself. Am I going to react? What's my emotional response to what this person is saying?
Mhm.
Okay, I have an opportunity here to do a quick reframe on myself and choose kindness, choose gratitude. Even if they're being ugly, you still have a choice.
Mhm.
So instead of engaging at their level, whatever it is, I would encourage you to go higher. And if
Mhm.
they hit you with something toxic, I would encourage you to hit them with a compliment or
Mhm.
with a gratitude of something that you're grateful for that they've done for you. I promise, promise, promise you it will change the whole dynamic of the day or
Mhm.
the week or whatever. Macy, what you got?
I love that. I would say be kind and love, expecting nothing in return. So you are not disappointed. And so you also don't get an ego like, I'm going to give them a compliment or be really nice, and they're going to be nice to me back. Just do it without expecting anything in return. And when you're going into this holiday season, if you're still thinking about what your uncle or whoever said to you a long time ago, 15 years ago, aren't you torturing yourself? Because that's something that you keep replaying in your head, and it's creating more bad and negativity than what the uncle or whoever actually said to you. So I would also encourage you to go in without any judgment. Clean slate this year. We're
I love
starting,
that.
and that's up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you
yeah.
to start over, and that's up to your mentality.
For sure. And Jackie, who's actually a neighbor of mine whom I love, she's actually well skilled in helping people handle all of their emotions. And she said there's a skill called stop, which I haven't heard this one before. So thanks, Jackie. This is pretty cool.
Mhm.
S is for stop, T is for take a step back, O is for observe, and P is to proceed mindfully.
Ooh, I love that.
I love that. I like that a lot. I've not heard that one, so thank you. We'll make a point to share that
Mhm.
ongoingly because that's great. Okay, so Macy, we're over, but I'm always going a few minutes over, unfortunately. So I try, you guys. I try to keep it to 30 minutes. Tell us about your book real quick and where they can find it.
Well, thank you. So, yes, I published Ready Mindset Go on November 1st, and it's
Nice.
about activating the mindset for entrepreneurship. It's something very underrated. People don't talk about the mindset for starting a business. They mostly talk about pitching, pro forma, sales, marketing, operations, but the mindset is something that no one talks about. But that's what you have to have in order to continue success and even start your business. And same in life, it's all in your mindset. So, what happens when you get rejected? Are you resilient? Are you going into business with self belief in who you are? Are you confident in who you are and the products and the services that you're going to be selling? So, this book unpacks a lot of that and prepares your mindset. I also have a digital workbook that's the activator that you can find on macytroyer.com that goes along with the book. So, the hope
Nice.
is to inspire and encourage more people to take that leap because I'm so grateful and I just jump out of bed every day. Can't believe that I get to do what I do for work. And I want other people to have the same feeling too if they're wanting to start their own business.
I love that. That's great. We'll probably do a whole show about mindset and we'll see who we can call on from your world to be a guest of ours. So Macy's got a website that is hername.com. So
Mhm.
if you've been watching and you want to see how to learn more about Macy, you can just type in macytroyer.com and you can find everything about her there. We are thankful that you are with us today. I'm grateful for all of you that are watching the show. It's a new show, so we're kind of slow rolling here, but think we had about 900 people watching us last week, so that's not bad for a brand new endeavor.
Yeah.
And so we just ask you to share the show, share it with your friends, like encourage other people to watch it. We're going to have all kinds of topics going forward, as I said. And so I think I think it will continue to be a really fun place to be. And we'd love to have you continue to join us. If you miss the show live, it does go up on our YouTube channel afterward. It is also goes on Spotify a few hours after we've been live. And you can find everything you need to know about us at roundtableshows.com. And you can also find the past episodes of the show and such there. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. And pretty soon we'll be relaunching our social media, which is up there now as Apply Happiness on Facebook and Instagram, but it's not quite tied to the show yet. So Macy and I are going to work on that with other people. We're rebranding everything and making it all cohesive, and it's a work in progress. And rather than wait to start, I just jumped into the show, and as I always do, I'm building my plane on the way down. So you'll just have to take me for what I am. We don't do scripted shows here. We don't do high quality technical stuff. We bring you the content. Here we are. Take it for what it's worth. Do what you want with it. We hope you have an amazingly blessed Thanksgiving season. And we will see you not next Friday. We're going to take that Friday off, the Friday after Thanksgiving. So we will be back the first Friday in December. And you'll see Macy again soon. And you'll see me. I'll be doing coffee chat tomorrow morning. So I'll see you all there. And Macy, we'll talk to everybody soon.
Yes, I cannot wait. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week and an awesome Thanksgiving.
All right. Take care, you guys.